Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige and this is my open book. In today's video, we're going to be doing a July wrap up. So grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's chat about the books I read this month. So the month of July was a really good reading month for me. So I actually read 20 books in the month of July, which is insane. I think that's like the highest reading month I've had in a really long time. Okay, the first book I read this month was Into the Tide by Laura Pavlov. And this author has been super popular lately, especially with this series. I feel like has been blowing up. And what's the other one? The other one's like the Honey Mountain series, something like that. I found out that that series actually takes place before this one, so I guess I started in the wrong spot. But I picked this one because I knew that it took place over the summer. So the premise of this one is that the female main character is back home in her small town for the summer because she just finished college and she kind of wants to take the summer to just kind of like go back to her roots with her family, just kind of like see what she wants to do with her life. She does already have a job lined up kind of like in the corporate world in the big city, but she has some trouble back home with her father. So her father is a recovering addict, but she is the one who is not giving up on her father. So even though, you know, her childhood wasn't the best and her father is still struggling with his addiction, she's not giving up on him. She wants to be there to help support him. She's going to be working with Hugh, and Hugh is her brother's best friend. This one was also fun because she created like a summer bucket list for herself. He helps her check off some of those summer bucket list items, and this is a virgin female main character, so you know, a lot of the things on the bucket list are of the spicy variety, and it was just really fun. I was pleasantly surprised. I really want to continue this series, but then part of me is like, should I go back and read Laura Pavlov's other series? Because I guess it's about like the cousins of this family or something like that, but those take place before this series. So now I don't know. I don't know if I'm just going to jump straight into book 2 of this series or if I'm going to go back. I don't know. If you read the series, let me know what I should do. But I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend if you want to, you know, get into your small town romance era. Next up, I absolutely binged this series, okay? So the next 8 books I'm gonna kind of lump together into the same review. So this will go by quickly, I promise. This is the Palm South University series by Candy Steiner, and this is a college romance, obviously. All of the main characters are in a sorority or fraternity, and it's all about their shenanigans and their antics over the course of their college careers. Oh my god, this was such a fun read. If you were in a reading slump, or if you just need something to like completely escape from reality and just totally get swept up into a world, this is the series you need to read immediately. Save this for when you're in a reading slump because it was so addictive in the best way. It was like binging your favorite show on Netflix. It gave me like 90210 vibes, you know, like the revamp they did in the 2000s, I think it was. If you liked that show, this totally gives the same vibes, but it's in college. And it was so good. It was like the perfect balance of like fun, superficial, like stereotypical college, you know, rom-com vibes. But then you also have some really deep topics in here that I think Candy Steiner does a great job of presenting in a way that makes you really think and that shows you the emotional depth of these characters. But she still makes it in a way that is accessible to the masses, in my opinion. And I don't think she takes it too far. So yeah, I highly recommend. There's, oh my god, the tropes in here. There's a boss/intern romance, there's a professor romance, there's age gap, there's ex's brother. There's even like love triangles going on, so there will be like one girl and then 2 guys that you can't decide between, or there will be one guy who flirts with 2 different girls and you don't know which one he's gonna end up being with, and the 2 girls are friends but the other one doesn't know the other one likes him, and there's just, it's messy. You're screaming, you're laughing, you're crying, like you are feeling everything with these characters. You're rooting for them, you're against them, like just trust me, you will be so invested. I gave this whole series 5 stars. It just hits the spot. It just hits the spot. Thank you, Candy Steiner. This will probably be like my favorite series of all time, truly. After that, I read Fling by Adriana Locke, and I picked this one up because it was supposed to be like a vacation fling romance. So this girl, she recently broke off her marriage or engagement, I guess you will. She canceled the wedding. whatever you want to call that. And she was supposed to go on the honeymoon. Obviously, she booked it herself for, you know, what she thought was going to be her and her husband, but that's clearly not happening anymore. But she doesn't want the trip to go to waste, and she can't find any of her friends to go with her. No one in her family, like everyone has to work, or, you know, everyone has a reason. No one can go with her. And she puts out an ad on her social media to get people to apply to go with her on this honeymoon, fake honeymoon. So that was the premise. So I thought it was just gonna be, you know, like a fluffy, simple thing. I wasn't really expecting anything out of it. Well, I didn't realize that the one who she ends up taking, it's like a friends to lovers romance, which I was not expecting. You guys know I love friends to lovers, and they have history together. They've been friends since they were kids, and, you know, they grew up in a small town together, that kind of thing. And their chemistry was so good. Like, I was hooked. As soon as I had the scene with the two of them together and seeing how they interacted, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. And I was right. I gave this 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And their banter was really funny. And this is another one where the male main character, he is one of like many siblings, and each sibling gets their own book, which I found out after reading this. And they're just really entertaining, and I love it. This was the second book in the series, so that's the one I started with because I didn't know it was in a series at the time. So after I read this, I knew that I wanted to continue the series. I didn't actually get to the rest of the books until the end of July, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about them now. So after reading Fling and realizing how much I loved it, I tried to read the first book, which is Flirt. And this one did not give me the same vibe, unfortunately. I ended up DNFing this one, which was really disappointing, but I think the reason why I just couldn't connect with the characters is because this felt more like, I don't even want to call it insta love. They don't have history together or anything, but it's like they've been working together for a while, I guess. But I just didn't understand like the why them, why now part of the romance just wasn't clicking with me. And I found myself just like not caring about what I was reading. I found myself just skimming and like skipping pages, just trying to get to, you know, them getting together. But then I just felt, I don't know, I just wasn't invested in this one. So I ended up DNFing it, which was disheartening because I was like, dang, I really loved the second book, but this one was just like a total miss for me. Like, I didn't get it at all. But I still wanted to continue the series because of how much I liked Fling. So I'm glad I did. So the third book in the series, Fluke. This is also a Friends to Lovers, which you guys know is my favorite. So I was like, okay, this one is Friends to Lovers, so I feel like I'll probably like it since I liked Fling so much. And I was right. I gave Fluke 4 stars as well. This was so good. Her parents were really successful surgeons, and her brother kind of followed in their footsteps. And she was going to as well, but it just wasn't for her. And unfortunately, her parents kind of like ostracized her for that, and they never made her feel like she was good enough. So that's something that she's really struggling with. She is trying to be successful at her new job. She's actually working for a matchmaking company, and she's trying to compete for a promotion, and the person that she's competing with, he's kind of a jerk, and he is kind of like rubbing it in her face during the presentation that she shouldn't be qualified for this position because she doesn't know how love works. She isn't even able to hold down anybody for a long period of time, is basically the way that he puts it. So to try and get him to shut up, she's like, well, actually, I used to be married, and that's a lie. So now to keep up the charade, she has to lie about having an ex-husband. It kind of becomes the whole thing. The male main character, Jess has loved Pippa like his whole life. Almost, like ever since they met. I think he says like he's loved her for like 15 years, but she just never wanted to cross that line from friends to lovers, so they just never have. And now is his chance, and he's very upfront with her. He's like, you are my dream girl, and I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to make you see why we're meant to be together. And that's exactly what happens. I love it. I love when a male main character just like knows what he wants, and he says it up front, and he's just trying to help the female main character to see that she's worthy of love, because that's really her main barrier for getting into a relationship with him, is she feels like she's not good enough because she doesn't want kids, and he comes from a very big family, and you know, she's like, you're clearly the family type, like I don't want you to not have your dreams. And he's like, no, you are my dream. Oh, please, please. So yeah, this one was really good. I gave it 4 stars, just like I did Fling. The reason why I didn't give these 5 stars, I don't know. I might give this one 5 stars now that I'm thinking about it, because this like checked all my boxes. I don't know. I might change my rating after this video. You guys know I'm indecisive. But basically, I really enjoy these romances, and I think they're amazing. They're very well written. They're the perfect like heartwarming, like cute rom-com vibe. You still get some emotional substance, but it's like super light. It's not heavy at all, which I appreciate. I think it's good to have romances like that you know are like a good go-to that you can read no matter what mood you're in. And I appreciate that. I just don't know how memorable these are going to be in the long term, and I think that they are a bit repetitive. As probably, you know, I did read like most of these back to back, so that probably didn't help. But that's why I don't know if I should give these 5 stars or not. I don't know. I'm still on the fence, because I really did have a good time. I loved them. And I love how, you know, they're like good, wholesome boys, but the dirty talk was unreal. Unreal. The spicy scenes I was not expecting. They're really good. And yeah, I just think it's the perfect balance of, you know, best of both worlds. You got a dirty talking, fun, spicy time mixed in with the cute, wholesome romance time. So I don't know. I really enjoy them. So I continue the series. The next book is Flaunt. And this is the romance of the youngest brother, and he's kind of like the prankster, like annoying troublemaker of the family, you know, just like the youngest brother usually is in stories like this. So you're kind of like waiting for his romance the entire time you're reading the rest of the series. So I'm glad that he finally got his happily ever after, and I still enjoyed this one, but not as much as the other two. I gave this one 3 stars. This one's more of like an enemies to lovers vibe, which is not my personal fave, so it's more of like a me thing, not like there's a problem with the book. What I did like about this one is same thing. He fell first, and he was very clear about that. He's like, I want to be with you, and I know that, you know, you're not usually the type of person to be in a long-term relationship, but you know, I want to see where this goes, and I want to give you everything. But you guys know, I'm always going to pick a friends to lovers over enemies to lovers any day. So that's the only reason why I rated this one lower. But trust me, it's still just as good as the other 2. You're going to love it. Next, I read The Roughest Draft. This is by the writing duo Emily Wibberley and August Siegmund Broca. They're the same authors who wrote Do I Know You, which I talked about that in my June wrap-up if you haven't seen it yet. That was one of my favorite romances that I read in the month of June, so I was really excited to read this next one, and it did not disappoint, okay? These two writing together, it's like the perfect magic potion. I don't know what they do to get their writing to be so amazing, but it just works. It just works. This particular romance is actually about 2 writers and how they co-write a book together after some kind of falling out that happened after their last book went big. You guys know I love when characters have history together. This had tons of that. There's also like dual timelines and like flashbacks to when they first met, to when they were first getting to know each other, to when they were already successful co-authors together, to when something happened that, you know, made them not want to write together anymore, and just everything in between. The angst and the tension was just so good, and I truly just love the voice of these authors together. I just think that the way they write things is so poetic, but at the same time just so like raw and real. They don't hide behind tropes like fake dating or brother's best friend or enemies to lovers. You know, it's really not like that. And I love how it's just as simple as 2 people went through some shit and they're just trying to work it out and see if they can come out on the other side. And I love that. I love how they don't try and pretty it up with a bunch of fancy stuff and bows. It's just real and it's raw, and it just punches you in the face. I don't know how to describe it, and I love it. It's just really refreshing to, you know, have authors like that. And I think that these 2 need way more love than what they deserve for the 2 books that they put out. They've both been 5-star reads. I would give them 10 stars if I could. I just love them. I love them. And I feel like I'll definitely come back and reread these books multiple times because I just love the connection that the characters have. Like, you can just really tell that they are soulmates through and through. And you're rooting for them, but you're not just rooting for them to just kiss and make up. Like, you're like rooting for them to go through their issues together and to like do the hard stuff. And you know, it's just, yeah, it just feels like you're in it with them, and I love it. I highly recommend. Please read this book, please. Next up, I took a break from romance. I know, aren't you proud of me? I read a mystery. I read The Devil in the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. If you want to hear my full thoughts, I actually did a buddy read with my husband on this book, so I will link the video on his channel down below so you can hear both of our opinions. We both pretty much had similar opinions of this book. But basically this is a murder mystery, kind of like Agatha Christie vibes. It's one of those locked room mysteries, but it takes place on a ship, which was really cool to read in the summer. I love anything like nautical with like pirates on the ocean. I don't know, it was really cool. But like I said, if you want to hear more, go check out the other video. Next up, I decided to give Emily Henry another shot. I read Beach Read in the month of June, and I didn't hate it, but I wasn't like obsessed with it. I was very just like meh about it, if I'm being honest. I think I gave Beach Read like 3.5 stars. But Happy Place is her newest book, and I really wanted to give that a try. And I figured this would be more my speed because this is a, I don't know if I should call it second chance or I should call it like marriage in trouble. I don't know. Basically, it's about our two main characters. They were friends to lovers, and now, well, they were currently engaged, but a few weeks before going on this trip with their friends, they broke off their engagement and didn't tell anybody. Now, they're part of a friend group. There's 6 of them total, so it's 3 couples, and they go on vacation to this lake house every year, but the family of one of the friends who owns the lake house, they're selling the lake house. This is the last time they can go on this vacation, and they don't want to burst their friend's bubble by, you know, ruining the vibe and saying that they broke up. So they're gonna pretend that they're still together because they want to keep the peace and not ruin this last vacation they have with their friend group. I kind of figured I would like this one more just because you guys know I like when they have history together, in a sense of like they were, again, I don't know if I should classify this as second chance or like marriage in trouble, but I like both those vibes. So I figured this was going to be higher on the list for me, and I was right. I gave this 4 stars. I was really emotional reading this book. I was like bawling my eyes out at the end. I had to check myself because when I cry, I usually automatically give a book a 5-star rating. But I feel like the reason why this book made me emotional was more so just because I related to what the character was going through, and not so much because the story was just that emotionally impactful. Does that make sense? I don't know. So I originally wanted to give this 5 stars, but then I was like, wait, like, let's think about it, because there were definitely some issues that I had with the conflict between these two characters. I personally thought that it could have been handled better, so I think that's why I don't want to give it 5 stars. But with that being said, I still really liked it. It had dual timelines, which you know I love. There was just something very like nostalgic and comforting about the story, even though I've never had a lake house that I've stayed in every summer with my friend group, but it felt like I did. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like that kind of story where you get the nostalgic vibes even though you haven't done anything this character has done. So Emily Henry does a really great job of that, of getting you to really feel like you're in the story with the characters. And I think that's part of the reason why I love this book so much. After that, I picked up this novella by Olivia Dade. This is Desire in the Deep Blue Sea. And this one was really good. I actually gave this 5 stars, which I don't usually rate novellas very high because it can be hard to give a well-rounded story, let alone a romance, in such a short page count, just because I like romances that have depth and I want them to have time together. I don't want an insta-love thing, so it can be hard to pull that off in a novella, you know, because I want to see the development of their relationship over time. And Olivia Dade, she did that. She did that. So this is about the two main characters. I can never remember people's names. There's too many names. Let me see. I know the male main character's name is Thomas. What's her name? Callie. So Thomas and Callie work together at the library, and Callie does not like Thomas very much as a co-worker because she feels like she always has to pick up his slack, and like he'll spend like 20 minutes talking to one customer, so then she has to sit there and help 10 customers at the time he can help one. She admires him though, like he's super knowledgeable and he's been working at the library longer than her, and he's very passionate about things, but that makes him kind of be like a frustrating person to work with from her perspective. But Thomas, on the other hand, Thomas loves Callie, and the parts from Thomas's point of view were my favorite. Like the way that he talked about her was just so sweet, and it was really dreamy, really dreamy. And she has been with this other guy for pretty much the whole time that she's worked at the library with Thomas, and she finally breaks up with him. And unfortunately, it's right before she was supposed to be going on a TV show with the boyfriend. It's some kind of like HGTV spin-off show where these two people who are in a relationship, they go on 3 different vacation spots and then they pick their favorite or something like that. I don't know. The show premise seemed kind of silly to me personally, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, she's about to go on this show with her boyfriend, but then they break up, so she has to call the show to let them know. And she does not want to give up this trip that she's going to be going on. I mean, she gets to go to 3 vacation destinations and she's been looking forward to it. And she's like, you know what? I don't want to miss out on this just because of this crappy guy I just dumped, you know? So she lies and says that she's already moved on with somebody else, so it's okay. She can just go with this new guy. And that new guy ends up being Thomas. So it was just so cute, like her understanding him and learning how he is as a person made him a lot less frustrating to her as a co-worker, because you know she was honest with him, and she's like, hey, like when we're working together and you act this way, it makes me feel this way and it's just really hard for me. And she actually opens up to him about some of her mental health issues, and he's just so supportive, and the way he listens to her and really takes things to heart. And he's like, you know, I never thought about it like that. You know, learning it from your perspective is really eye-opening for me. Like, these are the ways that I'm going to try and improve. You know, it was just really nice open communication between the 2 characters, which is great because usually in romance books there's always like a miscommunication or some kind of 3rd act breakup or whatever. But I guess that was the good part of this being a novella, is you didn't have to worry about all that. It was just them airing out their grievances and them both being like, okay, let's work on it. And it was nice. And like I said, Thomas was just so dreamy. He's probably like my new fictional book crush right now. I highly recommend this if you need just like a cute, you know, summer novella before we get into fall season. I'm not ready for fall yet. I still want the summer vibes, so this was perfect. Next up, I read Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This is the 2nd book by this author. The 1st book was Every Summer After. I talked about that in my June wrap up as well. And I was not expecting much from this book because everyone loved her 1st book, Every Summer After, but almost all the reviews that I saw about Meet Me at the Lake were bad. And most of them were saying that they were disappointed because the 1st book was so good and this one just did not meet up to their expectations, and it just, you know, it just didn't do well. So I was really nervous, but I really wanted to give it a try, and I'm glad I did. I ended up loving this one. I think part of me liked it more than the 1st book, if I'm being honest, which is surprising because you guys know I usually like it better when it's like a second chance or like a friends to lovers. They, you know, they have like a strong bond before they get together. And this one, I guess, kind of had that, but not really. So like 10 years ago, they have this like meet cute, insta love kind of connection, but they're both with other people at the time. So kind of like a wrong place, wrong time kind of romance. Again, not usually my thing. I really thought I was gonna like it even more because I realized that part of the reason why they didn't get together 10 years ago is because they agreed in 1 year to meet up at the lake where she's from, and she is the daughter of the resort owner at this lake, and they agreed to meet there and he doesn't go. I was so mad when I read that part. I was like, wait, so 9 years ago he like abandoned you and left you hanging, and now I'm supposed to believe that you guys are supposed to get back together? Like, no, like we hate him. We hate him. Yeah, so I did not think I was gonna like this. I was like, oh no, now I see why people didn't like it. Like I don't know how I feel about this. Like, am I really gonna be rooting for these people to get together? I was wrong. I was wrong. Carly Fortune said, Paige, sit down and shut up and just read the book. And I did. Oh my God. It was so good. It was so good. And I was really rooting for them. And I really felt invested in their relationship. And it still gave me like the same vibes as the first book, because there is a 10-year difference between their insta love and when he, you know, didn't meet her at the lake versus now. So I feel like I still got that aspect of like they have history together, there's dual timelines. And even though they didn't exactly have like a strong foundation 10 years ago, it was just a very quick, like they were only together for like a day kind of thing. But it was still believable in why she felt such a strong connection to him after just one day. It makes sense with like the point that she was at in her life versus the point that she's at now, and just kind of like the parallels and the similarities. Like it definitely makes sense. And I understand the romance. So Carly Fortune sold me. I was not supposed to like this book, okay? I'm not supposed to like insta love. I'm not supposed to like when the guy is a jerk and leaves the girl hanging, but I did. I really did. Next up we have Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. Unfortunately, this was a bit of a disappointment for me. I didn't hate it. I still gave it 3 stars. Part of me wants to change that to like 2.5. I don't know. I'm too nice. I feel bad giving something less than 3 stars if I didn't hate it, but I don't know. It just didn't do it for me. I just felt like it was lacking, in my opinion. I think that young adult doesn't have to be that way. There are so many young adult books I've read that have more substance than adult books, you know? So I don't think that's why I didn't like it. I think it just didn't pack as much of a punch as I wanted it to. I think that the characters had a lot of potential. I personally found the female main character a bit much. I love when there's a strong female main character, don't get me wrong. I love when the female main character can be confident and strong in her beliefs, has great abilities that she's proud of, but it just felt a little bit much with this particular character, because it was just like her constantly being like, oh, well, I've been trained to be the best at this, and I already know how to be an expert at this, and I'm better than everybody else at this. It's just like, are you really good at everything? Like, I understand you're a badass, I get it, but it's just, I don't know, I just felt like it was just too convenient. I think I felt that way about the plot too. It's just like, oh, of course that she knows how to do this, or of course this part of the ship just so happens to be leading to this part of the ship. I don't know, it just seemed like a lot of the plot and the characters were just, it was just too convenient. It was just like, okay, of course. I don't know, I just feel like there wasn't a lot of like angst or tension because everything was just so easy for her. I don't know how to explain it. I expected more. I expected more. Next, I read Reckless by Elsie Silver. I talked about this in my mid-year freakout book tag where I said this is the new release that I haven't read yet that I really want to, and it blew me away. It blew me away! I even talked about in that video how everyone hypes up the Chestnut Spring series. It's like the top small town romance series right now, and I feel like there are other small town series that are better in my opinion, but I still enjoyed it. Like, it was still a good time. But this book totally lived up to the hype. Like, I saw everyone on Instagram, oh my god, Theo's the best, oh my god, Theo, and I'm like, yeah, right. Like, there's no way he can compete with, my personal favorite was Rhett before I read this one from the first book, and oh my god, Theo's the best. He really is the best. Like, they weren't lying. They were not lying. It's probably because I think there are a lot of parallels between this book and the first book. So the first book follows Rhett. He's a bull rider and he gets with Summer, and Summer's sister is Winter. I know. Winter is the female main character of Reckless, and she gets with Theo, who is a bull rider that is the mentee, right? Because Rhett is Theo's mentor. Mentee? Yeah. This video is too long. I need to stop talking. Okay. So good. This even has the accidental pregnancy trope, which is my least favorite trope, let me tell you. As soon as I find out there's gonna be a pregnancy, I'm like, nope. So I did not think I was gonna like it, but I wanted to continue the series, so I picked it up. Oh my god, it was so good, you guys. It was so good. I really ate my words. I really didn't think I would find an accidental pregnancy book that I would like, but this is one of them. I gave it 5 stars. It was great, like, learning about Winter's backstory. I didn't think I was gonna like her as a character because I loved Summer so much in the first book, and she's kind of, Winter is made out to be like the villain, honestly. And you're kind of taught to not like her and to see her as the bad guy, you know? So but it was really cool to see her backstory and to really understand her as a person. Yeah, I loved how Theo didn't make her change. Like, Winter can be kind of abrasive, you know, and she is strong-willed in her own way, and he doesn't want her to change. He wants her to be who she is, and he loves her anyway. It wasn't like the whole damsel in distress kind of vibe and like Theo had to save her. It wasn't like that, and I appreciated that. After Theo has taken care of Winter, Winter gets an opportunity to show that she supports Theo just as much. And I don't know, I liked that, how it was very like 50-50 relationship. It wasn't just focused on, oh my god, I'm the female who needs a man to lift me up. And I think that really added a lot of substance to this romance that a lot of authors wouldn't take the time to add. So I highly recommend, even if you're like me and you hate the accidental pregnancy trope, I know, trust me, I know, but this is worth it, I promise. And we're saving the best for last, folks. I ended my month reading Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. How do you think I liked it? What do you think? It was a 5-star read. This is another book, like, I would give it 1,000 stars if I could. You guys know Things We Never Got Over was one of my favorite books of the year so far. And Knox Morgan is my favorite male main character of the year. I didn't think I was gonna like it. This is kind of similar to Meet Me at the Lake. Almost every review that I saw of this book was just bashing it, saying like, oh my god, the first one was way better, this one does not compare, I was let down, I was disappointed, this is not good, blah 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 blah. So again, didn't have high expectations. I was a little worried. Oh my god, it was so good. I was so invested in these characters. So this is about Nash, which is Knox's brother, and he's a cop. I know. The female main character is actually an ex of Knox, and she's more of like the bad girl, so it's like good boy, bad girl, which is, you know, different than I think most books usually do. I like how it also wasn't like the reverse grumpy sunshine trope either, because Lena is not grumpy, she's just a bad girl, you know, like she's still nice and she's still sunshine in a room, breath of fresh air kind of vibe, but she's just not going to be a rule follower, and she's not going to be meek, you know, she's going to be in your face and she's going to do what she wants to do, and she's a fighter. Whereas Nash, he's the good old boy, he's a cop of a small town, and you know, he does a lot of good for everybody, but he went through something really traumatic. In the first book, he gets shot, and you know, as a cop, I can even imagine what that must be like. And especially because, you know, he struggles a lot with his identity and his mental health after going through that. And this book really dives deep into that. And I think that Lucy Score did a great job of, you know, exposing what that must feel like to someone like Nash, who is the hero and always has to be there for everybody else and saving people, but he couldn't even catch the bad guy that shot him. So it's a real big hit to him. And no one really knows that he's struggling because he has to, you know, show on the outside that everything's okay. And he's not the type to talk about his feelings and to show that he's vulnerable. But when he's around Lena, it's just so sweet seeing them together. And I love how she is able to kind of like, you know, pull him out of that dark place. And even he's surprised. He's like, I don't know what it is, but when I'm around you, I just feel alive again. And oh, come on, was top tier. This is like, Things We Never Got Over is like right on top of Things We Hide from the Light. I still like the first book just a little bit more, just a little bit. But I think it's just because I just have a soft spot for those characters, I think. I think this one had enough action, you know, because you still have to figure out who shot Nash and how they're going to get back at him. And then Lena also has some secrets on her end, you know, with the job that she has that people don't really know what she does for a living, and it kind of like connects to what happened with Nash. So that storyline was really interesting, and you still get flashbacks to Knox and I call her Daisy in my head. What's her name? Naomi from the first book. You still get them, and Waylay. So all the same characters you loved in the first book are in this one, and it was just a great time. I'm so happy that I read this book. All right, that was a long video. Thank you for sticking with me till the end. I really appreciate you. This was a great reading month, and I'm happy that I have so many great recommendations for you guys. Maybe in September I'll do like a fall TBR, because I do have some fall vibes books in mind that I want to read. Like I'm thinking like back to school vibes, like teacher-student romances, or maybe like fantasy, vampires, you know, that kind of vibe. I'm also thinking like mountain men kind of vibe, like lumberjacks. I don't know. When I think of fall, those are the kind of books that I think of. So I'll probably do a fall vibes TBR in September, but I'll keep you guys posted. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you for sticking with me through such a long video. I just had so many great books to talk about, okay? It's hard. It's hard to keep it short when you're just so passionate about them. But yeah. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Be sure to give this video a like and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.